Hi, my name is Jos Smolders, and this is Thursday Afternoon Talks, a series of weekly discussions I have with Frans de Waard about an album, an artist, a label, a genre, or another something musical. In this episode, we discuss Dave Clarkson's A Pocket Guide to Dreamland, faded fairgrounds and coastal ghost towns of the British Isles.
Alright. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Recording in progress. Frans, recording is in progress.
Yes.
For this instance of this video discussion about new released music, you suggested a cassette tape by Dave Clarkson. Can you tell me what was your motivation to bring this to the table?
First of all, there is because it's good music, but we'll get to that later.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, there is the package, which is a plastic box, not environmentally friendly, of course, which is bigger than a normal box. It has a authentic postcard from the faded fairgrounds. Oh, it's custom to this release. It has 2 badges, very 80s, and a cassette, and a small print that has the download code. I already use it.
Because it's also available through Bandcamp, right?
Yes, absolutely. Dave Clarkson, I reviewed some of his music before. He works with other people, among them Alan Hensel of Crispy Ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
They have a duo called Scissor Gun, which is more electronic music, a lot of rhythm, but the guitars, I think all instrumental. And solo, Dave Clarkson works with field recordings.
Right.
Now, these field recordings, there's broadly speaking, two ways of working with field recordings. So one is the people who go to a place and make a recording, do a little bit of editing, and then give it to us as a release,
right.
Which is, very hard as a reviewer to write about because, go to Thailand or Argentina or Costa Rica, record a rainforest. I've never been to those places, so what's it to me? What can I say in all honesty about such a release? It's
right. Well,
it's great. Yeah. It's great recording.
Of course, but you could say like you get an audio scape of what that landscape in Cambodia or Vietnam or Iceland, what it sounds like in sometimes in a sort of ambisonics recording as well, or binaural, which could give the listener a pleasant experience. Or
yeah, but couldn't you say the same thing about all of those field recordings?
Yes.
It's very hard to say, oh, this is Thailand, or this is Africa, or this is Costa Rica.
Different birds, different acoustic spaces. I mean, I can really enjoy those recordings just as a sort of perhaps a backdrop of my own space, my own acoustic space. But on the other hand, you could ask, so what is the creative, artistic, what's so artistic about doing a field recording?
Sticking a microphone in the air.
Right, but still, I mean, you have to make a choice about what place Do you start the recording? Is it an interesting soundscape? What do you cut out? What do you take into the recording?
Sure.
Yeah, but this one's different, right?
Do you allow humans to be part of
Yeah.
it? So that's one part. So the other
Right.
and the other lot of people, they go out to do field recordings, take them home and use them, process them, rework them, and create music that, to some extent, have a bit of these field recordings, the original ones, mixed into it, and some of them are it's totally invisible, as it were. So these are the two main areas where people work in. Now, what I like about this Dave Clarkson, he does something, I don't know, a little bit different in his music, in which he has a musical approach. In a sense, it's more the music is more traditionally music,
right?
Without going into any discussion of what is music. His idea is to, I'll take my editing software or whatever he does and cut these pieces and combine them together and make it into a song. And sometimes these songs are a bit more. If I don't know if he uses the word songs, but these songs are more
traditional
ambient soundscape like. But there are some instances in which he cuts it all up and makes it all into what I would say a proper song.
Right, because I listened to the music, and to be honest, I was a bit confused. Because at first, when we talked about this record before and about Dave Clarkson, you explained that he is a field recordist. And indeed, the title of the album suggests that what I was going to hear leaned very much, very strongly on field recordings. But what I heard was actually, to me, for the most part, more music than the field recording. Something that reminded me of a field recording. Let's put it like that. So how do you see that?
Well, the Faded Fairgrounds for me is an indication where I think he's going to. I'm going to a place where there is a fairground where you put money into a machine, and then something will play, something will happen, and he has sounds of that. And then he reworks that into a song. Right. So, like I said, this is one documentalist and the people who process it. But the people who process it usually take much more time, make it into a whole soundscape. And very rarely you hear people cutting it all up and making it into a small, again, pop music sort of thing.
Right. So perhaps we should listen to a part of the album.
Yeah.
So that almost sounded like a building site, actually, to me. So that almost sounded like a building site, actually, to me.
Yeah, true. Have you ever been to a fairground in recent years?
No, not in England. No.
Well, or in the Netherlands.
In the Netherlands, yes. But mostly they play that very hardcore techno over there.
Yeah. That's what I thought was fascinating when I heard this cassette. And I think, this is what a fairground sounded like in my memory from all those years ago.
In the old days.
Yeah, when you had all this jolly sort of music. Years and years ago, I think when I had a mini disc player, I went out to the fairgrounds and I thought, I can capture now these sounds in situ of this sort of sound.
Right.
I was very, very disappointed that you only have this sort of, well, like you say, happy hardcore house music.
Exactly.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's insane. It's one of the reasons not to go. So maybe that's the sort of sound of nostalgia that you have in this thing, in this sound. This is well, fading perhaps, but yeah.
True.
And this you can wonder if is this a field recording? Maybe he took some records. Maybe he's PVC sound effects records mixed with some construction site sounds.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Of course. I mean, he uses field recordings as his basic material, but he cuts it up into rather large chunks, loops actually, not really samples in the sense of how you use them in dance music and stuff, and makes it, in a sense, a new soundscape built from these loops.
Yeah.
In other instances, the music is more musical. We can listen to, what is this called? This track, Rollercoaster Ghost. So this one's much more abstract. The intro is sort of recognizable, but the remaining 4 or 5 minutes of the track are like this, and much more. I mean, I wouldn't recognize this as a field recording anymore. So I think that this artist, in fact, puts the musical part over prioritize that over the field recordings themselves, which is totally okay, of course, but it.
Yeah, you don't think it's all field recordings.
I can imagine it's all field recordings. When he tells me they are all field recordings, I know. I mean, you can make anything out of anything. So, yeah. But that brings us to the question of how relevant is that overlaying message that you bring in the title, for instance, of the album.
Yeah, that's a good question. I like to be guided by a title. Mm-hmm. When I write about music, because that's easy.
Sure.
If it's something very abstract, I can't use as many words. I like that when a new release hints at something which actually might not be true. Maybe in this case, like you say, well, maybe we don't know. We don't know if these are field recordings from coastal ghost towns. Mm-hmm. in England or the British Isles. But if I hear the music and think, oh yeah, that's the sound of Fairgrounds from my memory.
Right.
I'm inclined to think, oh yeah, and then I a sort of vaguely romantic notion where I see this Dave Clarkson walk around, in
taking a ride,
rain-soaked English ghost towns, fairground with no people, and I'm taping some sounds.
Right.
Yeah, for all we know, it's he went out down the street, recorded a construction site, took an old record from BBC's Fairground recordings, and added his drum machines. So yeah, it's something I like. I like this sort of thing where it's not all too clear, but there is still something to think about.
Yeah,
and that's for me always an interesting thing, and that's still what I like about this release, because it hints towards field recordings.
Right.
As you say, it may not. I'm not sure. But if you leave that all out, and you listen to the music, you think, I would think, oh yeah, this is still good music, which is the other level of listening.
Which is maybe the most important part. But
yeah, is it important to know?
Yeah.
Do you always want to know the background to an artist or a music piece? Mm-hmm. Do you like some sort of mystification? Maybe this is. We don't know. Or do you want to go all the way and say, oh, there's nothing to know. Here's a title, there's no information. Mm-hmm. And then you start guessing, thinking, okay, well, what do I know about this person? What's his previous work like? And then it might be all wrong.
Right. So what do you think? I mean, you showed me the package at the start. Does the package add to the atmosphere of the music, or adds to the experience you have when listening?
I'm known not to care too much about packaging. I hardly say anything about packaging. I did. I think it does. I must admit, I've not been to British coastal ghost towns.
It sounds really interesting and attractive in a way.
There's a small map, and there's a few marked out. I think it's very hard to see. So I don't know which these cities are: Cardiff or Liverpool or Brighton, Blackpool, maybe. So there's a whole. I think he tried to make it look a bit retro.
Right.
As a design choice.
Maybe. I mean, so actually, like you said, the remembrance of the old fairgrounds. I mean, the nostalgia in a way. That's was the word I was looking for. The nostalgia he tried to bring back into the packaging as well.
I would think that's definitely the idea. Yeah.
Okay. So shall we listen in conclusion to another track?
Yeah. One thing I was thinking about organ transplant and organ donor. That sounds title-wise very much like Stockhausen and Walkman. Early days. They had a.
You mean the music or
the title, but also maybe the music.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, so the album starts with organ transplant and it ends with organ donor. So it goes full circle somehow.
No, it's vice versa. It starts with organ donor, ends with organ transplant.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. Go. You're right.
Yeah. So maybe there's some inspiration for Dave Clarkson there in the use of sampling.
Right.
I was thinking.
Oh yeah, would be interesting to ask him about that someday.
Yeah. So whether or not it's inspired by plunderphonics.
Oh, yeah. Might be very much true.
Yeah.
Okay, let's conclude this episode with these words. And on to the next one, Frans.
Yeah. See you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.